So I was on the internet. I know I shouldn't have been interneting, and I ran across this post. Okay, it's hot off the presses. So I guess this is a thing now. Universities running ads to resell students' data for training LLMs. Okay, Susan, Google DeepMind, Past, Meta AI, OpenAI, Unity Games. Wow, worked at literally all the places. All right. University of Michigan LLM training data. Hi, Susan. I am reaching out because based on your profile, you may be working with large language models, LLMs, or natural language processing. I wonder if they used an LLM to determine the candidates to send this information to. Curious? I wanted to let you know that University of Michigan is licensing academic speech data and student papers that could be very useful for training and or tuning LLMs. First off, TJ is in shambles. TJ, you should be in shambles. What the hell's wrong with your school? But second, I do want to just throw something out there. Do they not realize, I'm sure they do, but do they not realize that students' papers are generated by LLMs? Doesn't that cause like this whole like circular problem where you have like feedback decay? Yeah, feedback decay like going way high. LLM training LLM. I mean, I don't know if you've been using ChatGPT lately, but in the last year and a half, ChatGPT's overall performance has gone genuinely down. I don't see how anybody would say that it is as good as it was day one. Now, to be completely fair, my amazement at what it can produce versus what it actually was producing could be purely like rose-colored lenses. Like, have you ever used something for the first time and it's really fantastic, but then as it goes on, it's not as good? This happens with like food sometimes. You eat a food and your first bite is really, really good and it's just like out of control. And then your next one is just not as good. Or heroin, classic one, chasing the dragon. I mean, that's where it comes from, chasing the dragon. It got really bad. I'm not sure if it got really bad or if my expectation has gone up and it has stopped going up in proportion to my expectation. Meaning, when we started ChatGPT 3, was pretty good, then 3.5 came up, and so my expectation rose proportionally, and then ChatGPT 4 came out, and my expectation rose proportionally, and maybe it's degraded by 5 or 10% or whatever it is, but my expectation kept going up and to the right like a good old-fashioned stonk, and it's going not stonks right now, and so it's like it feels disproportionately worse. No, it's objectively way worse. Objectively and way worse. You used a very subjective term to describe how objectively it changed. Like, what do you mean? Objectively, it's not as good as it was. Is it 10% worse? How do you measure its accuracy? All I know is me personally, I find it really annoying. But I also kind of found it annoying back in the day, but I was just too bedazzled by it. I wonder if it has decreasing goodness due to having to remove copyright content. You think it removed copyright content? Hold on, let me get this straight. You think that they removed copyright content from something in which is a bunch of medians, the world's largest if-else statement generator ever? You telling me that they somehow were able to magically remove it? Anyways, let's keep on going. The overview of U of M's datasets, TJ's alma mater. Speech data, 65 speech events from various academic settings, lectures, discussions, interviews, 85 hours of high-quality audio recordings in MP3 format, extremely accurate transcriptions in XML format. Why are subs in XML? Anyways, I think there's like a standard format that is XML, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, speech data. Academic student papers. 829 papers written by University of Michigan, seniors and graduate students. Cover 16 academic disciplines, social sciences, physical sciences, engineering, etc. The one-time license fee for the data sets are academic speech data, $15,000. Academic paper data sets, $12,000. Combined speech and paper sets, $25,000. Okay, so let me get this straight. I just want to understand something really quickly. The papers that you assembled from all the students all together aren't even the cost of tuition for a year. You're bang on your buck. You know, I'm just saying, this is pretty good here, okay? You're getting a lot of opportunity. I mean, the quality that they're producing is obviously they don't have very high confidence in it. Also, this feels really odd. I mean, How would you feel that you spent 3 years writing a paper in your master's degree, and then it comes out and they're just like, yeah, you plus all of your friends plus everyone you've ever known plus every other department's ever known, we put them all together and we valued all of your papers together at $12,500. Like, semi-decent. 829 papers. What is it? It was 12,595 divided by 829. I would just like to let you know that your 3 years of effort was worth $15.19 for us to sell. Just let you know. Pretty good. Per client. In other words, they could recruit less than one additional student and replace their entire venue resource or revenue source and never have to violate privacy like that. Yeah. So per place that's buying these training datas, as Judo just said, if they had, say, 50 people that were interested in all of this, they could also figure out how to get 50 more students instead and not seem like just like a horrible violation of what feels like something about this just feels really weird. I'm letting them cook before I give my opinion, okay? I'm trying to let them cook to give them the opinion right now. Free sample of data. If you'd like to see a free sample of both data sets, please click request sample data, provide your email, and then I'll email you the sample file. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me directly at this thing. I think you could have doxed him. Nice dick, by the way. Dick pic. Come on. Inappropriate. Okay, this is a learning adventure, Susan. All right, so here's my general take on this. That I think, obviously, the landscape in the world has changed vastly in the last couple years. And so the value of your content that you produce at a university has vastly changed. I think we can all agree that exists, right? Because before, what did they do with all these papers and everything? Well, they didn't really do anything, right? It was just like, hey, maybe some of them, they can actually get out and get published, but a lot of them, they're just thesis papers. They don't actually ever get anywhere, and that's that, and fantastic. Okay, awesome. But now there's a whole new world in which, there's an eager desire for more and more information to be able to train these models to become better and better and better. If they got consent or you signed a paper my assumption is that if you went to college, you signed a piece of paper or an agreement that said all work produced here is owned exclusively by the college itself. So I hate to tell you this, but you're kind of up a river without a paddle on this one if you're upset about it, in the sense that you already signed it away. It's just that this vertical didn't exist potentially at the time you signed it. That's my assumption, and I'm pretty sure that's true, that whenever you go to a school, you sign away your rights to the things you produce, that everything you produce is on behalf of the school itself. Thanks for the black pill, Prime. No, I mean, it's just the reality, right? Yeah, we're talking about the legality of everything. And is it ethical? Let me ask this question. What makes it not ethical? Because I have a lot of feelings about this. I'm trying to reason about why I feel that it's unethical, but I don't have a good reason why I think it's unethical. What makes it unethical? Yeah, no, I mean, this right here, forget that. The quality of the majority of these has to be poor. Yes, that's a completely separate question. I'm not talking about that. MSU follow standard academic practices in disclaiming ownership of and royalties proceeding from traditional academic works, books, essays, works of art, musical composition and recordings, and the like, unless one or more special circumstances exist. The special circumstances that cause the university to retain copyright ownership are set forth in Section 2. Below, works with special circumstances exist for which the university retains ownership are called university-owned. I think the reason one might feel that it's unethical is because those right assignments generally only exist to protect the university, not for them to profit off of. Okay, but times have changed, right? At one point, some natural resource may have been considered dumb. And then at some point, it became highly worth and highly valuable. And then all of a sudden, the person who owns the mineral rights now gets to make a lot of money. I'm just trying to think of this. I'm trying to think of this as in a reason why this is valuable or not valuable. The real MSU is here in Montana, not where you live. Exactly. Briscoe is absolutely right. Real MSU is Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana, not this crap Michigan. But I'm just trying to reason about why I don't like it. And I don't have a strong reason why I can say I don't like it. Like, I honestly can't come up with something other than it gives me the ick. Yeah, it feels scummy, but that's not how ethics work. You can't say something is ethical because you don't like it. You have to say it's not ethical, even if the courts don't decide, right? It's not ethical because of certain things. Students can't opt out. Yes, they can. Students can most certainly opt out. It's called don't go to MSU, right? Like, you sign up to go to a school and all works that you produce go to the school. Like, this has been a thing forever. Like, if you think that you get to produce something at school and then go and make money off of it, like, you're going to be sorely upset about that, right? It's not like I can take my master's thesis, produce some piece of software, and then attempt to just go sell it. It's not mine to sell. Double dipping feels wrong. Okay, double dipping, I can see that. Can you say that Blizzard is not unethical in their treatment of workers because they chose not to work at Blizzard? Well, there's potential visa issues that they're holding over people's heads. This is a different thing. Okay, working at a job, you need money to survive. Going to college is not something that you need to survive. Meaning, like, nobody here needs to go to college. If you don't go to college, it's not like, oh, I guess I'm homeless now because I didn't go to college. Like, there is a fundamental difference between these two. In this economy, actually, yes. Right now, trades work is going out of control. We actually don't know that the students didn't explicitly sign up or whatever. That's what I'm saying. The document has no basically, okay, that's fair. So we can say we don't know. Let's go with one of two things. If one, the students never signed their work away and it's being sold on their behalf, it's clearly illegal, okay? It's illegal. It's coercive. Everything is coercive. Everything that you sign up for is coercive. You are being coerced into a certain set of values or whatever, no matter what you do. Isn't Montana State University the same as University of Montana? You are an ignorant slut and you do not understand. That's the Grizz versus everything is. So that's not a good argument here. I'm trying to think of what makes this bad, and I'm failing to really come up with why this is bad. Dana White, that's fucking illegal. Like, yeah, late stage capital is generally icky. I'm not sure. There's good and bad things. If the students didn't have a choice yes, selling student data is clickbait for selling student papers they wrote for the university. That's fair. It's a public university. Check and stop being stupid about capitalism. Yeah, universities literally operate on the inverse basis of capitalism. Okay? It's a big nothing burger. Well, I think it makes people feel really uncomfortable. Like, everybody here, type 1 in the chat if you feel pretty uncomfortable about this. So a lot of people are not happy about this. So this is why we're talking about it, because it's worth talking about it, because it's not clear the ethical conundrum here. I wouldn't want to go to university if someone was going to sell my crappy paper for $15. Why? You got to say rotating phaser, you now have to give a reason why that would be. I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of my degree. I have paid off debt. I've paid off my degree. I've been able to make money and support my family. And if somebody sells my stupid paper for $15, I do not care at all. Like, at all. Not even in the slightest. I'm just saying, like, personally, that's dumb. So if they wanted JSON versus XML case study, performance, whatever it was called, there you go, ResearchGate. If someone sold my paper that I'm a part of right here, fantastic. I don't care. I don't feel like any of us can. I haven't heard a compelling argument for why this is unethical, other than just feels wrong. It just feels yucky, right? Say his name. This is literally labor theory of property from John Locke's being dismissed by writing in a paper. Double dipping isn't a moral argument. Double dipping is not a moral argument. It really isn't. If you could come work for me and you had the promise of getting a life that is very nice for you in the future, and you had to produce something that I could sell, and it's completely optional, then it's hard to say it's unethical, right? No one needs to survive by getting a degree. In fact, right now, people are largely thinking universities are the opposite of becoming financially free, is going to a university and getting some bullshit degree right now. Degrees are more and more worthless unless if you're a doctor or a civil engineer, right? It seems like it's really, really, really different. Do you get a royalty? I don't get a royalty from what? It feels like 85 hours of audio makes me think they explicitly got consent. That's way too small of a data set to be a random spying on people. Agreed. Yeah, the 85. So the audio, I think, actually, TJ, you bring up a good point, which is the audio is the kind of the more questionable one, which is how do they, how do they obtain this? Well, if you give a speech on campus, you're giving it into a microphone, and I would assume you think it's being recorded, right? I wrote a very personal essay for psychology that did a deep dive into my childhood trauma, analyzed how I've grown and everything there. That one, I kind of don't want to be in the AI brain. I wrote it with the knowledge of who the audience would be. They're changing that. I should be able to opt out. Okay, I mean, I understand your argument, which is that you gave up personal information. Yes, it's a University of Michigan. Oh, we'll come back to that. So that's like, I'm just trying to reason why that's bad. And I'm not saying, like, I don't feel for you in this personal thing. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to, ethically try to determine why that's bad. You gave up information for a psychology class because you may have been compelled to by a teacher to give up such information for it to later be used theoretically in training of an AI thing that you weren't aware of, that, the landscape changed out of underneath you. I think what would not give me the ick and make me feel fine is if all these places, if they could do it from here on out. Meaning that since the landscape has changed so much, if from here on out it's a part of contracts and all future things, and maybe that's the case, maybe due to how small, that's not a lot of papers. TJ says there's 52,000 students at MSU, and there's only 829 papers. So maybe this was a going forward thing in which they actually explicitly did get or explicitly say that they're going to be using this paper for training. And so maybe there is, or University of Michigan, U of M, maybe there is something here that is a little bit different here than we can understand. Or a lot of shit students. I do like the MSU is getting the blame. Yeah, I know. I'm blaming MSU. Yeah, F MSU. Michigan, of course, Michigan State, not Montana State. Anyways, okay. I think this is too intense, Susan. I think you really do got to take a moment and find out, what does it mean? Like, who are all these students? Because again, very few papers in here. And I'm curious, why would they even do this? With 52,000 students, assuming each student is paying $10,000 a semester, what are you trying to get out of here for a one-time license fee? You know what I mean? What is the school trying to get out? The bigger L here is the fact that they're selling peanuts while they have a giant oil cash cow sitting there. I think that's the part that I'm more confused about, is let's just say they're able to sell 500 of these. It's literally nothing comparatively to their budget. You think they're testing the waters? How many companies are buying LLM data? The upper limit to that has to be relatively small. And when I say relatively small, I mean it's not in the millions. You can't make it into some mega vast amount of money they can make. It's a really small portion of things that they can actually sell to. They just need to set a precedent set. Well, I mean, even if they set a precedent, you're still. I don't know. I'm going to give myself on this one that we don't have enough information. It's hard to say that it's ethical or unethical because I don't think anyone has provided a real argument for why something is unethical. If you go to a college, they use the information you produce. If you didn't understand that, that is your fault for not reading it in all the things you sign. Now, if they did not collect that information, if they did not get your permission, if this is a university in which did not make you explicitly sign something, then they're clearly breaking the law and you'd have legal recourse. And then that is unethical because you took something that was not yours. But if you willingly gave them this information, then it's hard for me to say that like my tweets. I say a lot of stupid shit on the internet. If people used my tweets to train the world's stupidest AI, that's what am I supposed to say? Well, you can't do that. No, it's dude, I opted into that. I opted into it. Right? I opted into this, and that's that. And so that's where I have a hard time. Right? It's like being upset that if you send a bunch of dumb Slack message to your coworkers, that can be used against you for firing. Right? Like, don't say dumb things in Slack or email that you wish people not to look at. Yeah. Okay, I can see this. I can see this argument that you're describing GDPR. Even though people click agree, it does not mean people will understand that their information will be sold eventually. I mean, I don't know how stupid you have to be to think that putting information onto the internet will not be used against you. I think this is really just pinpointing the very real misconception we have about higher learning institutions as of places of learning and research that will protect student data from privatization. In reality, they are predominantly businesses farming the ideas as money, which has been in the fine print in most universities for the last several decades. There's a disconnect between ideal and reality. Not only that, but you got to remember that every single paper produced by colleges right now, they pursue their professors to try to get grants. And when any person gets a grant to go research something, let's say the government gives a university $10 million to go research this very important topic, the university, like off the rip, takes, I've heard numbers, I forget the exact numbers, but it is an absurd amount of the percentage just goes to just the university. It's like 40 to 60% of it, some like very high number. And so if you think that somehow universities are this bastion of moral goodness, it is the world's biggest nepotism, like ever. It is the worst place for nepotism. It is the worst place for this kind of stuff. And so if you think it's somehow this great place, come on. Like I think that you have a little something going on up here where you're not thinking too hard. You know what the name is? The name is the Primogen. By the way, I do also support getting a computer science degree. I think they're really great. I explained that earlier. So it's not like it's not like me. I'm not shitting on universities. Okay, I think there's a lot of great things universities do. I'm not saying that, but I also think that if you think that they're going to be somehow this, it's no different than expecting a company to be moral. Stop thinking companies should be moral. Companies are not moral. They're not going to come out being this moral great place. That is why every single time one of these nonprofits come out saying they're doing all this moral good, you find out that their leaders are like sexually assaulting their coworkers or some awful thing. That's because corporations are not moral entities. Universities aren't moral entities. They're not going to be there doing something fantastic, okay? This is not capitalism in America. This is humans in charge of power degrade into awful, awful things almost universally, okay? That's that. That's that. If you think that power does not corrupt, you are a fool. Again.